Hi folks, today's project is the making of a strap cutter, a leather strap cutter for harness or belt work. Now I'm about halfway through with it. As you can see, it's all made out of brass, and I've utilised a second-hand Old English, I think it's called J. Dixon, an English maker that made an original one, and I'm going to adapt the rest of it to fit this. As you can see, I've cut the slot into the middle there for the blade to fit in, and adjusted the blade to fit flush with the bottom. And basically consists of two brass bodies, two 8mm machine bar, and what I've done, I've actually line bored. I'll do this with one hand, I think. It's a pretty good fit. I've line bored the two blocks of brass to take the rods, so you can actually adjust the width of cut there. It's quite a good fit actually. It's a real precision slide fit that. It's probably needs oiling a little bit. Gives you an idea of how it actually works. I've made these on the lathe this morning. A retaining washer and a concentric cam, which fits onto the end of here. And then I've got a little lever to put on, which locks the width bar in place. That goes on there, and I'm currently making the roller. The roller fits on here, and that moves up and down to trap the whatever thickness of leather you're cutting at the time, to stop it riding up. So I'm on with actually making two bushes for that at the moment. I've got one finished there, which actually whoops, dropped it into my bits box. So that will be pressed into there. That's a 17mm ID, and I've turned that to 17.1mm. That will actually press inside there. So I'm going to show you how I do my hand turning actually on the wood lathe. I've got another one sized there. I'm going to trim the end up in a minute, and I'll show you how I do it by hand. I've shown by the old boys getting that way myself, but you can do everything on a woodwork lathe with a metalwork chuck if you've got the hand skills. So I'll set up the tripod and I'll show you how I trim that down. I will be back in a couple of seconds. Here we are. It's actually set up and it's actually in the lathe now, and all I used for turning is just a standard high-speed steel wood turning chisel, which is ideal for the job. So it's razor sharp at the moment, so I need to trim 2mm off the end of this one to make it the same size as this one. So I'll show you how I do it by hand. Brass is quite easy to turn, as you can see there. I'll just marry those up and see about another millimetre to come off. A little bit more. That's about right. So those two now, I will, as you can see there, I've actually rounded the end over for when I press it into the tube, so it's like an interference fit. So that'll give me one in either end, one in this end, one in the other end. Actually got a little bit of an edge on there still, so one in either end, and then I've got the axle to go through the middle, and that will give me a roller. So I'll press those in, and I'll be back in a couple of seconds. This one is actually 1717, so I'll take 0.7 off it. It's actually 17.2. So I'll skim a little bit off the edge. It's not quite cylindrical there. That's better. Just a little bit too wide. So with a very sharp tool, you can just very carefully shave it down 0.7 of a mil. Make sure this end is. You can turn brass almost like wood. I'll demonstrate that now, and you can actually round that end over just with a rocking motion. This is the metal spinning the old school way. So you've got like a bullet end on the end there, so it doesn't catch on the tube when you're pressing it in. And you give it a little bit of oil as well. Take the arris off the inside there. So we should be somewhere near now. I'll measure that. That's 17.12, which will give me an interference fit. I might actually sand it a little as well, just to take all those rough edges off. Just put a bit of emery cloth. Now that'll take off almost 0.001 with sandpaper. It takes off more than you think actually. It's actually out of balance again. I'll try and chew it up a little bit. That's near enough. Just give it a nice shave to smooth all those lines out. Sometimes it's actually faster doing it by hand than on the metalwork lathe, because you can stop and start a lot quicker. That's 17.12. That's near enough, I think. It's the very starting end. 17.123 roughly, which will give me a nice taper fit, and it'll slide in nice and smooth, all that. So I'll just smooth off that little bit there as well with some emery. Just take any roughness off. So that's now ready for pressing in. So I have one on either side. As you can see there, I can push them with my thumb just, and giving me, once they're pressed in together, I've got a nice accurate roller. So I won't press those in, we'll be back in a couple of ticks. So there we are with the bushes pressed in, the interference. I've allowed 0.12 of a mill, which gives a nice tight interference fit, and then the 10mm shaft goes in, and you have a nice free spinning roller. Yep, happy with that. Now that roller, if I bring the tool back into view, that roller will fit on it. I've got to make a plate for down the side of here first, to which this roller will fasten to, and then I can finish off the lever for the concentric cam there, as you can see it. So that's my next job. So I'll make a paper pattern to start with, and then it'll be almost complete. So we'll be back in a couple of ticks. Back again. What I've just done, I've made my concentric cam. Now that's 17mm outer diameter, and the hole in the middle there, or to one side because it's concentric, is 10mm. Now that's drilled 1.5mm off centre to give you the nice rocking motion. So we'll fit that back over there, wrong way around. Now this handle is basically the standard Allen bolt, and what I've done, I've rounded the end over to give it a bit of aesthetics, and put the threads off, screwed it in, 6mm thread and tap, and tighten that down good and tight, and then I've turned this washer 6mm hole with a slight little recess in the middle, and rounded the end over on the woodwork lathe, and that one there is a captivating washer for the front, so we'll put that on. That's basically the cam block finished. All I have to do now is make the side plate. So basically lock so it's solid, lift it up, and then you can adjust it down and lock nice and tight. So what I'm going to do now is make basically a plate that fits on here, which houses be roughly look like that when it's done, and then the pivot here in the middle gets shortened down. I drill a hole through the brass plate to take this shaft. I turn that shaft down to about 7mm hole in there, fit it on, silver solder the shaft to this plate so it rocks like this, so the roller can lift up and down. So when it's finished, it'll look something like this, with an extra plate in there, and then a spring. I've got to drill a hole in the top here and a hole in the side and fit a captivated spring, so when you release the locking lever, this can spring free, and then as you run your leather in between, the roller will lift up to the thickness where you want, and get your width set and lock. That's it, ready to go. So it's self-tensioning spring on there. That's the next stage, which I'll show you next. I'll do that in another video, and I'll show you how I make the pattern. So that's basically the whole unit. If I unlock that and pull you can see basically how it's made. That's 12mm thick aluminium brass. Sorry, I've made one out of aluminium before, wasn't quite as good. And brass for the same thickness brass for the other side. So you drill two 8mm holes that way, two 8mm holes the other way, line bore them, so you get a nice fit like that. So it's what come off, and then it's just leather underneath, lock down, and then cut through. And basically it's run something like that. Then your leather is governed by this edge and your blade. And as you can see, the blade's a second-hand one, and you can see the actual orientation of the blade. So when the leather comes in, So it's dipping in slightly to the bottom, so the leather gets forced to the bottom as it cuts through, and the roller, looking at the side, will move up and down to keep the leather from lifting up as well. So we're almost there, and then a final polish up. So I'm quite happy with that. Like I said before, concentric cam 1.5mm off centre, and it gives you just a slight little nip like that, and it's not going to go anywhere even if you bang it about. Yep, quite happy with that. So I'll do another video, finish off and then polish up, make a new handle because this one's pretty grotty. I'll turn another one, or that might actually return that when it's made of rosewood, so I might redo that one and make a new ferrule. We don't know yet. And then give it make it razor sharp, and then demo it in action. It's still quite sharp there actually. So that's the leather strap cutter, almost complete, 80% complete. So I'll show you the next few stages in the next video. So hope you enjoyed that. Subscribe if you want to see the next ones, or give me the thumbs up, much appreciated, and I'll show you the next stage in the next video. So thank you all again for watching. Bye for now.